Welcome to class. So today we're going to be looking at a lesson dealing with a real news story. First of all, I don't know if you could hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Put a 2 in the chat if you can see me. So we're looking at a news article, some interesting news that happened out in Myanmar, where a powerful earthquake struck Myanmar in April of 2025. Now, if you know me, I'm going to teach with my slides. So let me get into my slides right now. Let me know if you can see the presentation on the screen. If it's good, is it clear? All right, I should be sharing my thumbnail here. So we're using current events to learn English, and we're going to start taking different events that happen around the world, major events that happen, and we're going to learn vocabulary from it. We're also going to study different grammar tenses, and of course, my favorite part, the 5 W's. And we're going to practice using everything that we learn. And you can do it all by yourself at your own pace. I have the link of this article in the chat right now. After we're done going live, we're going to then post it, and then the article link will be in the comments. So you have an opportunity to read along with us. I did create a little movie slash video out of the article. And then, I'm going to give you a quick summary, and then we're going to jump into the different types of activities to improve our English. So, what happened? Let's take a look.
Bangkok, April 5th. The United Nations called for the world to rally behind quake-hit Myanmar on Saturday as the death toll rose to 3,354, while a former USAID official said a U.S. aid.
Let's just stop right there. Over 3,400 people. And, this was a couple of days ago. I haven't kept up with what's going on out there, but definitely, rest in peace. God bless the dead. Situations like this that happen around the world, natural disasters, things beyond human control. Very sad to hear. But let's continue with the story.
Team had received notice they were losing their jobs after arriving in the disaster zone. In addition to those.
All right. So imagine you're one of these workers who just, ever since you were young, you dreamed of helping people during earthquakes. Maybe you had someone in your family or people in your family who have been victims of earthquakes. I know many people who have. So this situation is not far-fetched or hypothetical at all. You had a situation where, you lived through an earthquake and you were a little kid and you vowed when you grow up, you just want to help people in earthquakes and that becomes your job. And imagine arriving here in Myanmar after this huge earthquake and, your boots are tied, you're ready to help people, you're ready to deliver food and medicine, and they sit you and a couple of your coworkers down and they tell you, today's your last day. We have to let you go. We can't afford to pay you for this. That's what happened.
Killed by the March 28th earthquake, 4,850 people were injured, and another 220 are missing, state media said. During a visit to Myanmar's second biggest city, Mandalay, which was near the epicenter of the 7.7 magnitude quake, United Nations aid chief Tom Fletcher appealed for international support. Tom Fletcher, the destruction is staggering, lives lost, homes destroyed, livelihood shattered, but the resilience is incredible. The world must rally behind the people of Myanmar. Myanmar's neighbors, such as China, India, and Southeast Asian nations, are among those that dispatched relief supplies and rescuers to aid the recovery effort in quake-hit areas that are home to about 28.
Just for the record, these are actors. I made this movie, like I told you, just to support you as English language learners. You know, it's good to read a text and listen to a text, but when you have images that can go along with those words, it gives you a better understanding of what you're reading. So that's why we're watching this clip here. I hope you're enjoying it, but don't feel bad for this particular guy right here because he's just a really good actor.
Million people over the past week. The United States, which was until recently the world's top humanitarian
And that
donor,
is real
had
food.
pledged at least $9 million to Myanmar to support earthquake affected communities. But current and former U.S. officials say the dismantling of its foreign aid program has affected its response. Three U.S. Agency for International Development workers who had traveled to Myanmar after the quake were told they were being let go. Marsha Wong, a former senior USAID official, told Reuters. Marsha Wong, this team is working incredibly hard, focused on getting humanitarian aid to those in need. To get news of your imminent termination, how can that not be demoralizing? The UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights said on Friday the junta was restricting aid supplies to quake-hit areas where communities did not back its rule.
I guess that's why a majority of these positions out there are what? Volunteer, right? You're volunteering to go help. But, you know, at the higher levels of these organizations, those members are getting paid a pretty penny. So, yes, they have a lot of boots on the ground that are volunteers, but we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars are going into the pockets of some of these organizers and nonprofit agencies, especially during natural disasters.
The UN office also said it was investigating 53 reported attacks by the junta against opponents, including airstrikes, of which 16 were after the ceasefire was declared on Wednesday. Free Burma Rangers, a relief group, told Reuters on Saturday that the military had dropped bombs in Karenni and southern Shan states on Thursday and Friday, despite the ceasefire announcement, killing
So, this is in the middle of a war that's happening in this region, and in the middle of a ceasefire, quote unquote, ceasefire. We'll break down ceasefire if you want in a different video. If you need to understand what that means more, just let me know in the chat or let me know in the comments. And if you are here in the chat, I'm sorry I don't see you. I'm focused on the news article right now. So you can definitely just click the link of the article and follow along. It's the same words from the news article. But yeah, during a ceasefire, this earthquake happens. Look up divine intervention for me, okay? Look up divine intervention and tell me what it means in the comments.
at least 5 people. The victims included civilians, according to the group's founder, David Eubank, who said there had been at least 7 such military attacks since the ceasefire. The leader of the military government, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, reaffirmed to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi the junta's plans to hold free and fair elections in December when the two met in Bangkok, Myanmar state media said on Saturday. Critics have derided the planned election as a sham to keep the generals in power through proxies. Since overthrowing the government of Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi in 2021, the military has struggled to run Myanmar, leaving the economy and basic services, including healthcare, in tatters, a situation exacerbated by the earthquake. The civil war that followed the coup has displaced more than 3 million people, with widespread food insecurity and more than a third of the population in need of humanitarian assistance, the UN says.
Right, so here's a quick summary of the news story that we just read or that we just heard. So basically, there was a strong earthquake and it struck central Myanmar. It killed well over 3,400 people. That is 3,400 over that. And people's homes, schools, you're looking at it. This is actual footage. Hospitals were destroyed. The United Nations, they launched an appeal. So, an appeal, they're asking for help. They want international aid. And of course, international aid means money. They want money to help survivors. And I'm still going to keep my quotes on help survivors. But this is a natural situation that happened. It's a natural disaster. Natural disasters bring political opinion, bring political conflict, even though there was military conflict and political exchange before this natural disaster. So this is very huge news. I'm going to continue following it, but I have over 30 news articles that I definitely want to get into. And if I don't get into them every day, that's another reason why I'm going live. If I don't get to them every day and I have to sit down and edit them, then we're going to miss out on a lot of other news that is to follow. But this news, along with other lesson plans in the works, we have a lot coming, all right? We have a lot of English to learn. So this is an educational, not political video. So I'm sorry to disappoint you if you thought this was political, but we're going to get into some vocabulary because we're learning English. If you can still see the slides, one of the words that came from the article that's very important to learn is magnitude. Magnitude. It is a noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. And it's the size or strength of an earthquake. Magnitude. The example in the article, the earthquake, or the example in a sentence, I should say, the earthquake had a magnitude of 6.8. If I'm reading too slow, I can read faster. Just let me know. You can put it in the chat. Or if I'm reading too fast, I can read even slower or speak even slower. So let me know if you want me to break anything down. Just leave your questions in the chat. All right. Our second word, if it's popping up and it's not popping up, what happened to it? All right. So we got some technical difficulties on the slides. All right. Let me go back again. Go back. Go back. Come on, Canva. What's going on? Don't make me cut this live short. Our second word, which is not showing up on Canva for some reason, and our third word is not showing up on Canva. This is all original stuff. Nothing is copyright. So what's going on? The article is for educational use only. We're learning from the article. What's wrong with the word humanitarian? That's what we're going to talk about. You know what? We're just going to throw this into the chat. Adjective, the definition, and the sentence, and then we're going to read it from the chat, okay? It's not a big deal. The live chat replay will be on. So there it is in the chat. All right, I'm going to throw the third word in there. For whatever reason, the Canva decided not to show the second and third word. And I really like Canva. I like Canva as opposed to Google Slides, who restrict how many different megabytes I could use. All right, so it's in the chat right now. Our second word that we're looking at is humanitarian. And a humanitarian is an adjective, and it means related to helping people who are in trouble or who are in crisis. And an example in a sentence, humanitarian aid was sent immediately. So the best thing you can do right now is take these vocabulary words. So far we have magnitude and now humanitarian. And what you want to do is put them in a sentence. You're creating a sentence from your own words and your own memory, utilizing those words because now you know what they mean, you know how they should be used, and you're practicing it by writing a sentence, and then you could speak that sentence. And then you have your four bases covered: your reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And the third vocabulary word, well, you're not coming back, Canva. Let me try to refresh the page. Maybe that'll work. Our third vocabulary word, look, that works. All I had to do is refresh the page. Isn't that amazing? Let me see if that happens again if I press that. Ah, it worked. All right, so nothing's wrong with humanitarian. Nothing's wrong with appeal. Appeal is our third vocabulary word. And it's a verb or a noun, depending on how you use it in a sentence. It could be both, either or. And it means a request for help or support. When someone is asking for help or support. And the example in this sentence is the UN made an appeal for ching 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 donations. All right, so you see it on the screen now, and it's also in the live chat if you missed it before. All right, so let's continue. So here's an example of how you can use this word humanitarian in a sentence. Remember, you want to take these three words and try to practice them in sentences. The humanitarian organization helped after the flood. So, what you can do is take the word organization out, take the word after out, and take the word flood out. So far, your sentence should read: the humanitarian blank helped blank the blank. Now, that's only if you can't create your own sentences. What I just did there was give people a sentence starter or a little anchor of support to start their sentence. But feel free, if you already know what to do, feel free to use this word in a sentence on your own. You do not need to use this example or the blanks that I just provided. So think about your own country, think about your own experiences, and try to write those sentences with appeal, humanitarian, and magnitude. All right. So pause the video if you have to. I know this is a live session, but I'm speaking to the students who are going to be on the rewatch of this. Feel free to pause the video and then, write your three sentences down using the new vocabulary words. Put it in the comments. I would love to see them and read them. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our grammar section of the current events. So we did our vocabulary. Now we're going to get into grammar. And the grammar is past simple tense. So since this event already happened, we're going to use the past simple tense. Let's look at the verb strike. Strike. The past tense of strike is struck. It's just like the word truck, but we're putting an S in front of it. Struck. And an example with our earthquake situation: the earthquake struck the town. So that is the verb strike in the present tense, turning into struck in the past tense. We also have strike again, past tense of struck. The earthquake struck the town. And we have call, past tense is called. The UN called for help. So you have the verb in present tense to call someone or to call out for help. And since this happened already, it's past. So we're going to say called. The UN called for help. All right. So go ahead, pause the video um, because I'm going to now show you a set of present tense words, and I need you to change them from present to past. All right. So that's help. Number two, destroy. Then it's request. And finally, the word rescue. How do we change those verbs from present to past? If this is too easy for you and you're still watching, thank you very much for the support. You know what we love. We love watch hours, right? So thank you for the support. But go ahead and give it a try. If you get everything correct, you'll be helping someone else out. And I always see that most of my subscribers for now are not English language learners, but you're still subscribed, and I appreciate that. So at the end of the day, a majority of the people who do watch this are not subscribed, and those are English language learners. So I'm glad to be helping you. Why don't you just subscribe if you can afford it? It's actually free. But to those of you who are not English language learners, hopefully you're enjoying this, or maybe there is something you're learning from it or getting from it, and that's why you're here. Either way, thanks for the support. All right, I appreciate you. And I watch your videos too, by the way, and I enjoy them. You probably see me in the comments a lot. Why don't you give me a little comment too? All right, so I was rambling so people could get to work. So you didn't really have to pause it, but you had to change those from present to past. That's help, destroy, request, and our last word, rescue. All right. Should we do a, before we get into our five W's, should we do a quick review? Let's do a quick review of the verb. The verb is strike. We made it struck. Again, we used it twice. The verb strike, we made it struck. And then the UN called for help. Called was the verb. And now we have help, destroy, request, and rescue. So we took care of our vocabulary. We then went into some grammar, a little bit of grammar, learning about the past simple tense. You know what time it is? It's time for the five W's, my favorite part. All right. So we're going to break down this news article using the five W's. And the way to do this is you have your W, your first W, which is who, and you want to ask a question about the article using the word who. So you can say, who was affected? And the answer is the people in Myanmar. Guess what? There's a where there as well, Myanmar. But you could just say people, or there's a V word, victims, earthquake victims. Those are also people. You could also say, if we're talking about the certain workers who were fired, basically let go on the day they arrived to support, if we're speaking about them for the five W's, we can say, call them volunteers now. That's what they are. But um, we can say humanitarians for the who. So try to come up with a who. This is just one example that I'm giving you. You do not have to use that example. We're practicing the five W's using this earthquake that struck Myanmar in April. All right. So now we have who, and then we're going to go into the second W, which is, let me know. Can you put it in the chat? It's what. And we're going to ask what happened. What happened in Myanmar? What happened to the people in Myanmar? A powerful earthquake happened to them. And our next 5W is when. So we have who, what, now it's when. We're going to ask, when did this powerful earthquake happen? When did it happen? It happened a few days ago, April 2025. So we answered questions for the who, the what, the when, where would be next, where did it happen, specifically central Myanmar, and then we have a why. And we could ask, why is this important? So always asking the question before giving the answer gives you a better understanding or grasp of what you want to say or what you want to learn from whatever you're reading. It doesn't have to be an article, but in this case, it is current events. These are current events that we're reading. This is only one, but we did one yesterday or the day before, and we have more down the line to come. These current event articles allow you an opportunity to get the whole entire picture of what happened. So, why is this important? Because a lot of people need help right now. A lot of people don't have homes. They may not have power, electricity, food, or water, and lost family members, lost loved ones. People's babies have died. Babies' parents have died. So, this is important because thousands of people need help. So, that was our 5 W's. And you could put it together and make a beautiful sentence, and it will sound something similar to this. On April 2025, there was a powerful earthquake in Myanmar that killed over 3,400 people, and still thousands more need help. So notice how I used all 5 W's, the responses from all 5 W's, to come up with a sentence. And if you say a sentence like this and you're not a fluent English speaker, someone's going to think you're fluent out there because you know what you're talking about, right? So that's why we do the 5 W's. So try to use the 5 W's to write 5 sentences. For example, you could say the earthquake struck Myanmar in April, or the UN asked for help because, and then the more of these 5 W's you can throw into your answer to write your sentence, the more beautiful your response is, the clearer it's going to be for whoever's listening. And it just gives everyone a better understanding of the situation that you're trying to discuss. All right, so here's a good speaking task for you for some practice. If you have a phone, of course you have a phone, using your phone, or if you have a voice recorder, take these 3 questions and I want you to speak the responses. All right. We did some writing already. We did some reading first. We did listening because it was an audio. So that was 3 of the modalities so far. Please don't listen to anyone telling you that you don't need to speak, listen, read, and write to master English. Please don't listen to them. They really don't know what they're talking about. With all due respect, they don't know what they're talking about. You need to read, write, speak, and listen to command English. Because guess what? There are a lot of people who speak English well, and we can't call them fluent because they don't really understand English that well. So if you're talking about wanting to be fluent, you need to do all four of those areas, all right? And I don't knock people who don't like reading. At one point in my life, I didn't like reading either. Even now, I prefer audiobooks over reading, but I do like my eyes going over the words as I hear what's playing. But I understand. I always love to write and not speak. And here I am being forced to speak because I love teaching and helping people, and I have to speak in order to do that. But I couldn't call myself having command over English just because I was a good writer. So you really need to have all four modalities, we call them reading, writing, speaking, and listening, in order to master this language. But let me stop rambling because I have some work for you here to do. So use your voice notes and answer these questions. Number one, have you ever experienced an earthquake or a flood or any other type of natural disaster? All right. Number two, what kind of help do people need after a disaster? We talked about some of the stuff in the article. Right now, I just want you to practice speaking your responses. And how would you feel in this situation? It's a very heartbreaking and tough situation. How would you feel if it were you, if you were there, right? All right, so now I have some images to show you, and we have our three vocabulary words that we focused on today. I want you to try describing these images using that vocabulary. So if you see, for example, one picture, you can say, "This is a humanitarian group helping someone." Or if you see another picture, you may say, "The UN is trying to get some help." But use the word appeal and use the word humanitarian in your sentence, please. All right, you ready? Here come the images. The word is magnitude. Try to use this image and create a sentence with the word magnitude. Teacher, how do you pronounce that? That's Richter, a Richter scale, a Richter scale. All right, here's our second image. The word is humanitarian. Don't act like I didn't just give you an example, all right? You can rewind it if this is the post and try to use a sentence. Just don't steal my sentence. Use some of the words, not all of them. And our third word was appeal. Please describe what's going on using the word appeal. The UN asked for help. Don't tell anybody I told you that. The UN asked for help. The UN appealed for. All right, that's it. You got to focus. All right, now if you would like to practice some simple present grammar, tell me what is the past simple of call. This is just a quick review, okay? Because we did this word before. And what does the word humanitarian mean? Can you remember the definition? Humanitarian, or can you create your own definition that's going to make sense? That'll be perfect too. And what did the UN do after the earthquake? What did they do after the earthquake? Please put your answer in the comments. I would love to read them. It's only 7 of you, so come on, I should have at least 7 comments. This is some extra homework, for my Gulshanas out there and my Emils. You know who you are. Write a short paragraph, please, not a long one, a short paragraph about a disaster or emergency in your country, shot for you too, using past simple and today's vocabulary. That's appeal, magnitude, and humanitarian. Try to keep it under 100 words, please. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just kidding. Write as much as you want, all right? All right. So if you're live right now, actually, and you're working on this, feel free to press pause and work on this. But this is optional for you, okay? Are you ready to move on? All right. So a quick recap. Today you learned three new words: humanitarian, appeal, and magnitude. And I wanted to know if you ever experienced an earthquake or a flood before. So don't forget to put that into the comments. There's a lot of work that should be in the comments right now. You learned about past simple tense. I gave you a few words that you have to transform into the past tense. They are present tense verbs. You have to turn them into the past. We practiced quickly the 5 W's. We're going to try to do that more every day because it is one of the key elements of mastering English, in my opinion, and a lot of other amazing teachers out there agree with me. Even before I met them, I was loving the 5 W's, and they were loving the 5 W's before they met me. That's how powerful this is. And hopefully, you learned how to write and speak independently by the end of this video. By the way, that recording, you could email me the recording and then I will listen to it. Please, please, please make sure you send me a legit email because I verify everything before I open it or read it or listen to it. So please make sure you send me a real email. Make sure it's yours because you're going to end up blocked, spammed, and reported. Okay. All right. And if you heard any types of errors or mistakes in your recording, try to correct them. If you're able to catch your own mistakes, it's better than someone else catching them. And then you could record yourself again. And that's how you're getting smarter by learning from your own mistakes. You could even try to use past simple. You could use these sentences in the recording in the past simple tense. That way, you're making your grammar practice even stronger from what we did today. All right, so let me check the chat real quick, see if there's anything I missed. If not, we are ready to. Oh, hey, Bertina. So, Bertina's in the building. I was ready to wrap this lesson up, but I have a lot of current events on board, okay? I can write about the questions. Yes, you can write about the questions, definitely. So after I hang up this chat, you can put it in the comments or feel free to write it on paper, take a picture, and you can send it to me that way. You already know how to find me on email. It's in the description of the channel or on TikTok, because I think sometimes I see you on TikTok too. So it doesn't matter where you send it. I'm going to read it. Definitely thank you for supporting and thank you for watching. And do you see the link for the article at the top? I don't know when you came in, but the link for the article is there. It's a current event that happened. And we went over the whole article and we actually listened to the article. So you can listen to the article in the beginning of this video and read along with it to practice that. And this was really the end of the live. So thank you for coming through. I appreciate it. Were you able to hear me okay? It was good? The microphone was good? Thumbs up. You could put a 1 in the chat if you could hear me. I'm just gonna wait till I see that one in the chat. All right, good. I see you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so thank you for watching, everyone, and I'll see you with the next news article. Or I think I might send a motivational video. I don't know. I do think some people need motivation. I think some people quit. They were just like, you know what, this English is just too hard. I don't want to speak it anymore. And I do know some people quit coming to school too. There's a lot of problems out there. It's, work and the economy. Everything is tough, but that's why we have this channel, because you can watch it at your own time. If you miss a class, you can watch whatever we learned later on at your own pace. And as long as you're practicing the stuff, you will get better. So there's no need to quit. You could just slow down a little bit instead of quit. All right. So other than that, it was definitely nice talking to you. Thank you for coming through. And I've been here for about 42 minutes. I do see two people in the building. Hello, second person. How are you? Thanks for coming through. I was just wrapping up. I just did a whole entire lesson. It's 40 minutes long. Hopefully you can go back and watch it. Who is the second person? Say hello in the chat, or put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Don't be shy. There's only three of us here right now. All right. Either way, keep on writing, keep on speaking, keep on reading, keep on listening. Just keep going. All right. Don't give up. You're going to become more fluent every day. And I'll see you next lesson.